So what happened on January 6th? Does anyone remember? That day? January 6th is an irrelevant date. It's just another link in the chain link or whatever, in the chain, whatever. My analogies. Really, what the problem in this country is white supremacy. The problem in this country is fascism. I want to ask you, how do you feel about Adolf Hitler? How do you feel about Nazi Germany? If your answer is not too good, then I have a follow-up question. Do you know where Adolf Hitler got his ideas from? You know where he came up with the laws that he instituted in Germany in the 1930s? You know where he came up with that stuff, right? That's right, the United Motherfucking States of America, the Jim Crow South. In fact, Adolf Hitler thought that the Jim Crow South system of governance in the United States was so extreme and so racist and such an apartheid system, he thought it would not even be possible to institute in Germany. He thought that the Jim Crow South was so bad that there was no way he could go that far. So, that leads us to going back to the United States. This country is fucked up. This country had a civil war over the idea that black people were property. The fuck? And then, right, the Civil War ended, and everyone was like, gonna turn the page. Gonna turn the page. Right? So in the 1920s, especially, there was a group called the Daughters of the Confederacy, a group of women whose parents and grandparents fought in the Civil War, and they wanted to whitewash the history of the Civil War. They wanted to make it seem like it was heritage, not hate, and they erected all these statues of Confederate generals all across the country, right? That's what they did. Look at the amount of monuments to the Confederacy that were put up. Most of them were in the 1910s and 20s, okay? And then now think about this. So now we're the Daughters of the Confederacy. These people weren't around in the Civil War. Some of them maybe were, but not many. And then they have kids. Now we're in the 1950s and 60s. All right, so now they have kids. And those kids' parents were the Daughters of the Confederacy. So again, they fight a war over the right to own black people. Wow, that's fucked up. Then they lose, but no, there's no punishment. There's no accountability, right? Then they're like, oh, fuck. Well, you don't want to be in a situation where you hate your parents, right? So you're thinking, well, they were just doing the best that they could. They were doing this over other reasons. They didn't really want to own black people, right? They didn't. And then they have kids, right? Now we're in 1990s, right? Racism's over. There's black people on TV. The civil rights movement. Look, black people get to vote now. Isn't that great? Isn't that cute? The blacks get to vote. What a good country we are. We are so good to those people. Aren't we amazing? Right? Wow. There's no reparations. Redlining is still a problem. Look at police brutality. But this country solved racism. And then there's a black president. Racism's over. It's done. No one cares anymore. It's in the past. We've turned the page, right? Wrong, motherfucker. Wrong. Look at this shit. Okay, I need you to watch what's going on in this country. Right, January 6th. Is it a problem? Yeah, they tried to fucking literally destroy the U.S. government. Again! This happened in the the 1800s, right? The 1840s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, they tried to destroy the government, and they failed. And then, so ever since then, they've been working around behind the scenes. They've been, whitewashing the things. They've been trying to control education. They've been doing all this and that and this and that. And now, here we are. They tried to overthrow democracy. quote unquote, we don't live in a democracy, we live in a fucking fascist republic. I personally think so. That's what we live in now, right? It's just not openly fascist yet, but anyway, that's a whole nother topic, right? They tried to literally destroy the government. Nothing happened. Donald Trump's still going out there saying, oh, they stole the election. Now look at what we got. We got literal neo-Nazis. Remember what happened in Charlottesville? Do you remember that? No accountability. No lessons learned in this country.
Life, liberty, victory! 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 Life, liberty!
Folks, like, I mean, like, we got a whole thread here that's just, like, it's incredible. Like, you see this. There's a lot of these motherfuckers. People think, oh, January 6th. There's only a couple hundred doofuses in January 6th, right? There's only a couple hundred doofuses. Look, it was the QAnon shaman. It was my grandma. They were wandering, or they didn't know what was going on. Just a bunch of doofuses. Now, a year later, almost, 11 months later, this is a literal neo-Nazi march. Do you want to know what Patriot Front is? You might not have heard about them. Patriot Front is the spin-off group of Patriot Prayer. Now, why did they spin off? You might be wondering. Well, there were a lot of mass shootings, terror attacks from the right, like the El Paso shooter, that kind of stuff. And there was a big divide in right-wing paramilitary militias. Do we endorse these mass shooters? Do we endorse these right-wing terrorists? Do we endorse the destruction of synagogues across this country? Do we endorse the murders of black churches? Do we endorse police killings of black people? Patriot Front is the group of people that were like, yeah, we do endorse those things. The other people were like, no, we should stay, we should wear the suits and the ties, and then, you know, do a little bit more before we openly embrace violence. Patriot Front, they said, no, fuck that. It's time to embrace violence. These are the fucking groups of spin-offs, right, of the other groups. These are the motherfuckers that decided, yes, violence is good. Fascism is good. Kill the black people. Once and for all. And again, I need you to understand that this isn't going anywhere. Oh, Biden won. Biden won the election. The problem solved. Racism is solved once again. Are you joking? Or is this a funny joke that you're playing? Is this like a routine? Are you doing like a stand-up bit? Racism's over. Again, folks, I mean, this shit's fucked up. Like, again, like, they're literally at the Capitol wanting and demanding to reclaim America.
Warlords and useful idiots!
Like, look at this cowboy hat bullshit. Again, they're just literally wandering around. And you can look at this whole thread yourself. It got a little bit hectic as well. They got lost, apparently, which I found very entertaining. But again, these groups have been terrorizing America for years. They tried to overthrow the Capitol. They failed. Or did they? They're just going to try again. Right? They've been doing this all across the country forever. Ever since the Civil War ended. And no one gives a fuck. The only people that give a fuck is Antifa. And look at how the mainstream media treats Antifa. Right? The only time that there's any consequences for any of these motherfuckers is when anti-fascists show up and run them off. But you know what happens? When that happens, the cops abuse anti-fascists and protect the fascists. Right? We've seen this happen over and over and over. I mean, again, look at Charlottesville, right? Anti-fascists show up and say, we don't like this. Things get spicy, right? And then the police show up and allow all the murders to happen. And are right-wingers ever murdered? No. No. Whenever cops are involved, they're protecting the right-wingers. Right? Because no one gives a fuck. No one gives a fuck. And every time that they lose, quote unquote, every time that they get ran out of a city, which happens all the time, you see countless videos posted of, oh, look, we made fun of the fascists in X city, Philadelphia, Denver, Portland, etc. Then they just come back with more cops, more guns, more people, and eventually they're going to come back. And then again, look what happened in Florida. There was this case of an anti-fascist after January 6th. They posted on Facebook that we need to prepare to defend ourselves. They got 5 years in jail for a Facebook post. So the only people in this country that are willing to do anything at all about the incoming fascist threat are being thrown in jail for Facebook posts. I need you to understand, right? When everyone who runs these people out of cities like Philadelphia, Denver, Portland, etc., when they are all in jail, then what? Then they're just going to go around, wreak havoc, and then maybe January 6th, 2025 will be the time that they overtake the government. Folks, I need, like, I don't know, I've been going off on this one, but like, if you're one of those dumb motherfuckers who's like, Antifa's just as bad as the neo-Nazis, were you saying that same thing in 1944? You know, Hitler's really bad. But the idea, you know, like, it, you know, remember that Candace Owens quote where it was like, you know, Hitler building concentration camps and, you know, committing a genocide of Jewish people, that's fine as long as he stayed inside the borders. When he went into Poland and France, that was really when Hitler got out of control. He should have just kept the concentration camps in Germany. That's what Candace Owens said. Remember that? Remember that? Like, the idea that combating racism is as bad as racism itself, I'm sorry, it's dumb as hell. I mean, it's dumb as hell. And you see these people, they're not that bright. I mean, in order to be a fascist, you can't be that bright. Their organizing isn't that good. But it's a hell of a lot better than the left. There is no organizing on the left. Because whenever there is organizing on the left, people get shot and killed. People get assassinated. People get thrown in jail. And whenever there's any threat against the fascists, whenever there's any hint of consequence, the cops come in and beat the shit out of everyone else. 80% of cops voted for Trump, the guy who tried to overthrow the country, the guy who tried to destroy the United States. 80% of cops voted for that guy. So if you think anti-fascists and fascists are having a street fight, if you think that the cops are going to be an equal arbiter there, I'm sorry, you're delusional. They got this same treatment yesterday in D.C. that they did on January 6th. The cops kept all the critics away, all the anti-fascists away, and they let the fascists do whatever they wanted. So, I don't know, man. This country's fucked up. This country is fucked up.